What is going on, everyone? Thank you so much for coming back today. Thank you so much for just taking time out of your day just to click on today's video. Now, a couple weeks ago, I posted a video about times where Hollywood just stretched the truth a little bit about based on a true story. Today, I have another example of that, where the events in the movie did not happen, but the writer and director took real-life trauma and just gruesome murders to create the story of The Strangers. If you've never seen The Strangers, it's one of those movies where I enjoyed it. It's more of a psychological, just mind messing with movie. It's not the slash 'em and dice 'em. It is very methodical, planned out, and just creepy to no end. If you have seen The Strangers, please drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you've seen it. But it was written and directed by Brian Bernito. He took the inspirations of three, like I said, true crime murder mysteries and compiled them into this story. The first one up on the list that we have most notably is probably the most famous home invasion of all time. I am talking about the murders of Sharon Tate.
It was brutally done. It wasn't like they were just shot and executed one at a time. It looked like there was, the way it was staged, with the ropes around Sharon Tate's neck and the other one around Jay Sebring's neck.
Now, Sharon Tate was this up-and-coming actress slash model that she was trying to get in Hollywood. She was supposed to be this next big thing coming up. She was married to Roman Polanski, who was, this screenwriter, director, producer, kind of all the things in Hollywood. So, they were the next it couple. But one night that Sharon Tate was throwing a party at her house, Charles Manson, and again, if you've never heard of Charles Manson, you definitely need to take some time to look him up. He's probably one of the most notorious serial killers, if you could say, of all time. Him and his crew of Helter Skelter. Now, their whole purpose of Helter Skelter was to try to create this race war. I don't know why, but that was their whole purpose. So they went into the home of Tate that night, and they brutally stabbed her. They killed her, and they killed her 4 house guests. Pulaski was not home at the time, but they killed everyone in the house, including Sharon Tate's baby. They did kill the baby inside of her belly. She had been stabbed 16 times. They found her in the living room with a noose around her neck.
It was like they were almost going to cut the baby out of her. That's what it looked like.
Which is very, very crazy and just so sad to think about what this person's life would have been if they've not taken her life. They said that she was stabbed 16 times, and they determined that 5 of those stab wounds would have actually killed her anyway. So, even beyond the 5 stab wounds, they just continue to stab her and just brutally murder these people. Again, it's truly sad, it's gruesome, but if you've never seen it, you've never looked anything up, definitely look up the Sharon Tate murders of 1969. But, a side note that does not involve The Strangers, but Roman Polanski in 1977 was actually, he had been allegedly drugging and sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl, where he was going to, go to trial on this. So he had actually put in a plea deal. He pled guilty to this. And so he thought he was going to get a lesser sentence of just probation at the time, which is crazy to think about, that you would just get probation for that. But the night before the trial was actually about to take place, Pulaski found out that the judge was going to throw out his plea deal. He was going to trial and he was going to convict this guy. Pulaski escaped the United States. He fled to Europe, where he's resided the rest of his life. He's still alive at this moment. I think he's still doing some stuff over there. I'm not really for sure. Of course, it's crazy to think about that he still lived the rest of his life over in Europe. Something crazy to think about. The second part of the story happened to Bernito in real life. As a child, he said he was home one night and he kept getting a knock on the door, and they were asking for people. This is where the scene comes from in the movie, where they knock on the door and they're asking if Tamara is there, and she's not.
Hello? Is Tamara home?
He said this happened to him in real life, where people would knock on the door, they'd ask for somebody, they weren't there, and this happened, I think, twice. And later on, they found out that every house in the neighborhood that people were not home, they all got robbed that night. So, just because they answered the door that night, they didn't get robbed. Another thing, too, at the very end of Strangers, hopefully this is not a spoiler for anybody, but at the very end of it, they asked the killers why they were doing this, and their simple response is, because you were home.
Why are you doing because you were home.
That's creepy, and I'm 100% believe that's where he got the inspiration from. They got murdered because they were home. But the last story that Bernito took to inspire the true life story of Strangers happened in 1981 at the Kitty Camp Resort. It was a small town resort outside of California. Mother Sue, son John, John's friend Dana were all brutally murdered inside this cabin. And what's crazy about this whole thing is that no one was ever found. No one was ever convicted of these murders. They actually found Sue's daughter Tina. Actually, 3 years later. They did not find her until 3 years. She was a missing person. Whenever the campers came across a skull and some bones and a hammer. They actually determined that probably the hammer was the murder weapon that was used at the scene. But no suspects has ever been convicted. There's been no leads. It's been a cold case since 1981. But just recently, since 2016, they have been able to pull DNA off of the hammer, and hopefully they have some new developing leads. But of course, now it's been 8 years, and nothing's been said, and nothing's been solved. But hopefully one day they'll be able to determine who actually committed these murders. But that's what we have, guys. That's the 3 scenes that compiled the story of the Strangers. I think the real life events are much creepier and much scarier than the movie was.
For me, the movie was always kind of about trying to put an audience into the place of what kind of victims go through in situations like, we read a lot about, people getting murdered in the streets or people getting attacked. And very often we know later by reading the newspaper accounts or watching, the History Channel documentaries that, we always know, what the cause of who these people, who the attackers were. But I was really fascinated in the idea that, when you read about somebody killed on they didn't necessarily know what happened. So I wanted to be with the victims and be with, these characters as they experience kind of blind terror without a rhyme or reason.
But there we have it. That's the true life stories that put together The Strangers, written and directed by Brian Bernito. Like I said, it is a creepy movie. I would highly suggest you go check it out. If you did watch it, again, drop me a comment down below. What was your creepiest scene of the movie? But guys, if you are enjoying the content that I'm putting out, I would greatly appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button down below. If you're not a subscriber, you can quickly become one. It's free. It's simple. Hit the subscribe button, and then out beside that, hit that little bell notification and select all. And then YouTube will send you a nice little notification whenever I upload a new video. But I have decided to post some more content on the channel where I have busted out my N64, and I am playing some old gameplay, some old retro playing. If you do enjoy retro gaming, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification so that way you don't miss anything. Right now I'm playing a series on NFL Blitz 2001 where I'm trying to complete a season as the Tennessee Titans. But guys, I greatly appreciate it. But if you do have a movie for me to check out, go send me a message over on Instagram. Give me a follow as well. But guys, that's all I have for you today. Mom, I love you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys. Hey, if you want to watch another video, click here. If you want to subscribe, click over here. As always, thanks for watching, guys.